What happens when the guy who built the company from the ground up realizes his employees don't even have time to breathe? Yale Stanton stood outside the 11th store of his 12-location fast casual restaurant chain, pulling at the collar of the faded gray delivery polo that clung uncomfortably to his neck. He looked nothing like himself. His thick salt and pepper hair was dyed a dull brown, his usual clean-shaven face now hidden behind a patchy beard and glasses. 20 pounds heavier than when he opened his first location 12 years ago, he blended in easily with the constant stream of new hires, especially in a store he'd never once visited in person. The disguise was good. No one here had ever met him, and corporate turnover meant the younger frontline workers mostly knew him as some guy whose name was signed at the bottom of company-wide emails. His alias for the day: Kyle, a new driver trainee shadowing shifts. The reason he was here? Not a customer complaint. Not even a financial dip. It was a gut feeling. He'd been getting strange energy from the district manager's recent reports. Everything sounded too polished, too perfect. And yet, turnover at this store was the highest in the chain. That didn't add up. Inside, the kitchen buzzed like a hive under pressure. Yale followed behind a shift lead named Owen, who looked barely 20 but moved like he had the weight of the building on his back. He handled the prep line, barked out tablet orders, double-checked every bag, trained a new cashier, and still answered customer complaints all within 10 minutes. "Stay close, Kyle," Owen said over his shoulder. "Lunch rush starts in 15. You'll be running bags to cars. Fast." "We're short 2 drivers today," Yale nodded. "Got it. Why so short?" Owen didn't look up. "One quit yesterday. Other's mom had surgery. Management didn't approve overtime, so we're stuck." Yale frowned. "You're not the manager," Owen cracked a tired laugh. "Nah, I'm just the one who shows up." The general manager, a guy named Trent, strolled in 15 minutes late with an iced coffee and sunglasses still on. He didn't acknowledge Owen or the rest of the team, just leaned against the counter and scrolled through his phone. Yale watched him for a full minute. No greeting, no prep, no urgency, just text after text. Owen didn't say a word, just moved faster. By noon, the store was chaos. Yale had already run 6 car deliveries. Heat radiated off the asphalt. A toddler screamed in the drive-thru. Inside, the line stretched out the door. The only air conditioning came from a small fan pointed at Trent. Then it happened. Owen, grabbing a bag from the warmer, suddenly froze. His hands trembled. He swayed once, then collapsed hard onto the tile floor. Everyone froze. Yale dropped the bag and ran to him, kneeling beside his body. "Owen, hey, can you hear me?" No response. A cashier screamed. Someone else fumbled with their phone. Trent didn't move. Yale turned sharply. "Call an ambulance now." Trent looked up, annoyed. He probably just fainted. "It's hot. Call an ambulance," Yale snapped, his voice cracking with panic. A customer shouted from the counter, "This guy's not breathing right." Yale's hands shook as he loosened Owen's collar and checked his pulse. It was there but faint. Within minutes, EMTs burst through the front doors. Yale stepped back, his heart pounding in his chest. One of them, a woman with short blonde hair, leaned over Owen, checking vitals while the other set up oxygen. Then came the words that stopped everything. "Low blood sugar. Severely hypoglycemic. Has he eaten anything?" Yale blinked. I don't know. I don't think so." The EMT nodded grimly. "This isn't the first time I've seen this in food service. He probably hasn't eaten in hours, maybe skipped meals for days. Blood sugar crashes, body shuts down." Yale stared at Owen's pale face as the EMTs lifted him onto the stretcher. The pieces slammed together. Owen had been doing everything. He never stopped moving. He trained new hires, ran the kitchen, and covered for missing staff, and he never took a break, not once. Yale's stomach twisted. Trent still hadn't moved. "Is he going to be okay?" Yale asked. The EMT nodded. "We'll stabilize him, but someone needs to tell him to stop killing himself for a job." Yale couldn't speak. He just stood there, frozen, because the person who needed to hear that the most was him. Yale pulled the back door shut behind him. stepping into the alley behind the store where the delivery drivers usually waited between runs. It was quieter here, just the steady hum of the refrigeration unit and the far-off wail of the ambulance growing fainter as it carried Owen away. He leaned against the brick wall, chest tight, the heat pressing in on him from all sides. The image of Owen on the tile floor wouldn't leave his head. He pulled out his phone. For a moment, his thumb hovered over the screen. He could text his VP, call the district manager, start the chain of accountability. But no, not yet. He needed to see more, feel it himself. A single incident wasn't the full picture. He slid the phone back into his pocket and returned inside. The store was quieter now. The line had thinned, and the other employees moved with a kind of shell-shocked stiffness. A young woman at the front counter kept glancing toward the kitchen, her eyes red-rimmed. The guy on the grill worked in silence, his movements robotic. Trent was in the office, door closed. Yale stepped behind the counter and approached the girl, her name tag read Gabby. "You okay?" he asked, keeping his voice low. She nodded once, then hesitated. "I've never seen someone pass out like that, not like that." "He didn't eat all day," Yale said quietly. Gabby wiped at her cheek. "He doesn't. Most days he doesn't. Says he doesn't have time. If the order screen's full, he just powers through." "Has anyone ever told him to stop, to take a break?" She looked down. "Trent says breaks are earned when the floor's under control." "But it's never under control." That was enough for Yale. He made his way to the back, pushed open the office door without knocking. Trent looked up from his chair, annoyed. "You need something?" Yale stepped in, closing the door behind him. "You didn't call the ambulance." Trent shrugged. "Didn't seem necessary. The kid's fine. He gets dramatic when he's tired." "You think that was drama?" He bounced back. "Last time." Yale blinked. "Last time," Trent leaned back, arms crossed. "He's had dizzy spells before. I told him to eat more." "Not my job if he doesn't listen." Yale stared at him. "You're the general manager. If someone's collapsing on shift, it absolutely is your job," Trent scoffed. "Look, you're new. You don't get how tight this store runs. We don't have the luxury of babysitting. Everyone's stretched. The ones who make it, make it. And the ones who don't, not my problem." Yale's fists clenched. He forced himself to breathe. "What's your turnover rate been like?" "High, but that's just how it is. Kids don't want to work these days." "You think that's the problem?" Trent stood. "I've been running stores since before you were probably out of high school. You think you're going to fix this in a day?" "I don't need a day," Yale said evenly. "I need 10 minutes." He turned and walked out. Back on the floor, he gathered the team: Gabby, the grill cook, a quiet dishwasher, and 2 delivery drivers who'd just come in. He asked them to pause everything for 5 minutes. They gathered by the prep line, glancing at one another nervously. The dishwasher, a guy in his 40s with tired eyes, shifted from foot to foot. Yale looked at each of them. "You don't know me, but I need to ask you something, and I need honesty." No one spoke. "Do you feel supported here?" The grill cook, a lanky guy named Malik, was the first to answer. "We carry this place, not Trent, not the district manager, us." Gabby nodded. "We're always short, always, and if someone calls out, we get guilted into staying." The dishwasher added, "I've missed 2 birthdays, my son's and mine, both on a Sunday. Trent forgot to put in my schedule request." One of the drivers, a woman named Cass, folded her arms. "When we mess up, we get chewed out in front of customers, but when we pull double shifts or cover for no shows, we don't even get a thank you." Yale's voice was quiet. "How often do people eat during their shift?" Malik gave a dry laugh. "You're lucky if you get a few bites in the walk-in. If the line's slammed, forget it." Cass added, "If Trent sees you eating while standing still, he writes you up. Says we're not paid to snack." Yale nodded slowly. "Anyone else collapse like Owen?" Gabby's voice dropped. "A delivery guy last month had heat exhaustion. He threw up in the parking lot. Trent told him to finish the shift or lose hours. That was it." He stepped into the office again. This time he didn't knock. "Trent," he said calmly. "You're done here." Trent looked up, confused. "Excuse me?" Yale took off his glasses. "My name's Yale Stanton. I own this company, and I just watched one of my best employees get loaded into an ambulance because you couldn't be bothered to manage this store." Trent's mouth opened, then closed. You've created a culture where people are afraid to eat, afraid to rest, afraid to leave even when they're sick. That ends today. You can't just walk in here and fire me. I can, and I just did. Yale stepped back out and faced the team. I'm the founder of this company. Everything you've told me today, everything I've seen, it's unacceptable, and it's on me for letting it get this far. Cass's jaw dropped. Malik just stared. Yale continued. Trent is gone, effective immediately. Until we find a replacement, I'll be on site. We're bringing in a relief management team to stabilize operations. He looked around at their stunned faces. No more skipped breaks, no more retaliation for speaking up. If you need to step away, you do it. No questions asked. The dishwasher raised his hand. What about coverage? We're already short, Yale nodded. We're flying in floaters from 3 other stores. Starting tonight, you won't be alone, Gabby asked. What about Owen? I spoke to the EMTs. He's stable, but he'll need time off. Paid medical leave starting today. We'll be visiting him tomorrow as a team. Anyone who wants to join is welcome, Cass blinked. We've never had anyone from corporate even say his name before. Yale's voice caught slightly. That changes now. He stepped out back again to make the calls, HR, district leadership. His VP, every one of them would get a full report. And anyone who'd ignored what was happening here, anyone who'd signed off on Trent's glowing reviews without stepping foot in this store, would be answering for it. But first, he walked back inside and grabbed a mop. Malik had spilled some sauce during the rush, and no one had had time to clean it. Let's reset, Yale said, rolling up his sleeves, starting with the floor. Silence. Then Gabby stepped forward and took a rag to the counter. Cass began boxing up an order. Malik pulled fresh gloves from the dispenser. No one asked if he was serious. They didn't have to. For the first time all day, the store felt like it could breathe. By early evening, the fluorescent lights above the prep line had grown harsher, casting sharp shadows across the stainless steel counters. The store was quieter now, but not calm. Exhaustion hung in the air like grease on the vents. Yale had rolled up his sleeves and scrubbed alongside the crew for over 2 hours, clearing backlogs, checking equipment, and helping reset the kitchen. His hands ached, his calves burned, but he stayed. Outside, the sky shifted to a dull orange. A new team of relief workers handpicked from nearby stores arrived just as the dinner orders began to trickle in. They were briefed on the situation, assigned to support roles, and instructed not to overstep the existing crew. Their presence helped, but only just. The real issue wasn't staffing. It was trust. Gabby was chopping cilantro when Yale approached the prep table. Her shoulders were stiff and her eyes were locked on the cutting board. You've been quiet, he said. She didn't look up. I'm trying to decide if this is real. Or if someone's going to walk in tomorrow and tell us to forget all of it ever happened. It's real, he said. It's going to stay real. Gabby put the knife down. People don't change things unless they're forced to, and even then it doesn't stick. He leaned against the prep sink. You've worked here how long? 14 months. Long enough to know that promises don't mean much. What would mean something to you? Gabby hesitated. Seeing someone like Trent get fired in front of us, not behind closed doors, not quietly, just gone. Yale nodded. You did see it. And the rest, that's up to me to prove. She picked the knife back up. Then prove it. Near the register, Malik was training one of the relief team members on the fryer, but his voice was flat, just loud enough to be functional. Yale moved over. You doing okay? He asked. Malik didn't pause. I'm fine. You don't sound fine, he looked up finally. You ever go home so tired you forget how to talk to your own mother? She calls to check in and you just grunt, because your head's still in a ticket queue that never ends. Yale didn't answer right away. I've made calls to investors while my wife sat across from me waiting to tell me her father passed. So yeah, I've been there. Malik nodded once. Then you know that being here cooking someone else's food instead of mourning your own life that wears you down. I'm not asking you to give more, Yale said. I'm asking what I should be giving back. Malik shook his head. This isn't about giving. This is about finally being seen. Cass stepped out of the walk-in, wiping condensation off her arms with a towel. She caught Yale's eye. "I don't mean to interrupt," she said, "but we've got a situation." Yale followed her to the back hallway where one of the relief managers, a man in his 50s with a pressed shirt and clipboard, was cornering the dishwasher, Raymond, near the mop sink. "What do you mean you can't stay late?" the man was saying. "If you're not willing to pick up slack, why are you even on the schedule?" Raymond kept his head down. "I have to pick up my daughter." "I was told I could leave by 7. You were told that before we knew what this shift would look like." Yale stepped forward. "His shift ends at 7. He's leaving at 7. The man turned, surprised. "Sir, I was just trying to emphasize flexibility during a transition. We're down a driver and we are not pressuring staff to stay past their scheduled time," Yale said, his tone firm. "We're not doing that anymore." Raymond gave a small, almost imperceptible nod and returned to rinsing out a bucket. The man hesitated. "Understood." Yale waited until the hallway was empty again, then walked back to the front of house. The lingering dinner crowd had steadied. Orders were going out smoother now. The kitchen moved like a team again, even if the rhythm was fragile. At closing, the crew gathered near the front counter. They didn't ask for a meeting, they just stayed. Waiting, Yale faced them. "I'm not going to pretend today solved everything," he said, "but I'm going to tell you what's already in motion." He pulled out a small notepad. "First, Owen's medical leave is secured. I spoke directly with HR. He'll be paid in full until he's cleared to return, and when he does, it'll be on his terms, not ours." Gabby folded her arms. "What if the district manager overrules it? They've done that before." "They won't," Yale said. "Because I already had the district manager removed, effective this afternoon." A few gasps. Cass blinked. "You're serious?" "Yes, I reviewed the reports submitted on this store over the past year. They were fabricated, sanitized, and none of you were ever interviewed." "That's over." He looked around. "Second, we're launching a hotline, anonymous, direct to my office. If something's wrong, you report it. No chain of command, no filters. If someone retaliates, they're gone. No warnings." Malik nodded slowly. "That'll help." "Third," Yale continued, "we're restructuring shift scheduling across all locations. You'll be given breaks based on time worked, not workload. If someone skips a break, it'll be logged and reviewed, not as a badge of honor." "As a failure of management to protect your time." Gabby raised her hand. "What about pay?" Yale answered without hesitation. "We're raising the base wage by $2 an hour starting next week, and we're implementing hazard bonuses for high-volume days. You'll know in advance when you're earning them." There was a beat of silence. Then Cass asked, "Why now?" "Because I saw it myself," Yale said. "No one should have to collapse for leadership to pay attention." The room was still. No cheers, no applause. Just the weight of real change beginning to settle, Yale continued. "Tomorrow I'll be here again. I'll be shadowing the morning shift, and I'll keep coming back unannounced, unfiltered until this store runs the way it should, until all of them do." Malik looked at him. "And if they don't, then I failed," Yale said. "But I won't." He stepped back, giving space. Gabby walked over to the register and began counting the till. No one asked her to. Cass started wiping down the counters. Raymond grabbed the mop. They didn't do it because they had to. They did it because, for the first time, someone had stood beside them instead of above them. And that changed everything. Yale arrived the next morning before the sun had fully risen, pulling into the lot while the neighboring strip mall was still dark. The air was cooler than yesterday, but the tension in his chest hadn't lifted. A plain black hoodie replaced the delivery polo, and he carried a tray of coffees in one hand and a paper bag in the other. He wasn't here to play boss, not yet. He was here to check on the people who stayed. Inside, Cass was already slicing lemons for the tea urn, earbuds in, her lips moving slightly to whatever song she had playing. She didn't notice him at first. "I brought coffee," Yale said quietly, setting the tray on the counter. Cass pulled one bud out, surprised. "I thought you'd show up in a suit today." "No need to dress up for work. I should have been doing all along." She gave a small nod and took one of the cups. Thanks. It's been a long time since anyone brought us something just because. Yale turned toward the kitchen. Malik was unpacking the produce shipment, checking labels against a printed list with a level of focus that reminded Yale of how he used to check architectural blueprints back, when he still designed restaurants instead of just funding them. Malik didn't look up. Back to observe, or are you clocking in? Clocking in, Yale said. But not to stand around. I'm here to learn whatever you're willing to teach me. Malik tore a barcode sticker from a box and handed it to him. Then start with inventory. See if the ramen's still coming in half frozen. They worked side by side in silence for several minutes. Every box told a story. Inconsistent produce quality, overordered sauces, missing lids for the soup containers. Malik flagged each issue and Yale wrote it down. No one had ever shown him these problems in a boardroom. By mid-morning, the rest of the skeleton crew arrived: Gabby, Raymond, and a temporary cook named Leo from another store. It would be another tough shift. The new hires scheduled for orientation hadn't shown up. Two had ghosted HR, one had accepted a position elsewhere. No one seemed surprised. Gabby hung her apron on a hook near the back and walked into the kitchen rubbing her temples. The tablets already got 6 pre-orders. One's a catering tray. We're not even open yet. Yale stepped behind the line. I'll take prep. Just tell me what needs doing. Gabby hesitated, then pulled a laminated sheet from under the counter. Start with the salsa. Gloves are under the sink. They worked with a fragile rhythm, everyone doing 2 jobs when the store could barely support 1 each. But they adjusted. Cass doubled as register and expeditor. Malik handled hotline and training. Gabby bounced between front of house and digital orders. Yale chopped, portioned, and stocked without complaint. The only real relief came in the form of a regional HR representative named Lillian, who arrived just after the lunch rush with a clipboard, a navy blazer, and an expression that made it clear she wasn't here for optics. I'd like to speak with each staff member privately, she said. Starting with Gabby, Yale nodded. Use the back office, it's clear. Gabby followed Lillian without a word. Yale watched the door close, then turned back to the line. Raymond was loading the dish pit, but his movements were slower than usual. Yale walked over. You holding up okay? Raymond shrugged. Didn't sleep. My daughter's school called me and she's having problems with this new teacher and I'm trying to keep my hours, but… Yeah, you need to leave early, just say the word. I can't afford to, Raymond said. I need the hours. Yale didn't argue, he just nodded. We'll figure something out. By the time Gabby returned, her eyes were unreadable. She didn't speak until they were both behind the line again. She asked about Trent, said they'd gotten complaints before, but never anything formal. Yale's jaw tightened. That's changing. Gabby glanced at him. She also said they're reviewing pay discrepancies. Apparently some of the bonuses we were promised last summer were never processed. Yale turned toward her. You didn't get your summer bonuses? No one did. Trent blamed corporate, said it was a system error. Yale exhaled through his nose. I'll take care of it. Retroactively? Later that afternoon, the door chimed and Owen walked through, his arm in a sling, a compression band around his wrist. He looked pale, thinner, but alert. The entire floor paused. Yale crossed the room without hesitation. You sure you should be out? I'm not here to work, Owen said. Just wanted to check on the team and to say thanks. They told me. You were the one who called the ambulance. You should have never needed one. Owen looked around. It feels different in here. Cass stepped out from behind the counter and gave him a cautious grin. Well, we're still losing our minds, but at least someone's listening now. Owen nodded slowly. I didn't think anyone above store level even knew my name. Yale gestured toward a booth. Sit for a bit. Let me grab you something to eat. Owen hesitated. I can pay. It's not about money, Yale said. It's about doing the right thing. He brought Owen a meal without fanfare and returned to the prep area. The shift moved forward. By evening, Lillian emerged from the office and approached Yale. I've completed the staff interviews for this location, she said. Findings are serious: systemic neglect, manipulated records, wage theft. We're initiating a full audit. Good, Yale said. Don't stop at this store. I won't, she replied. But I'll be honest, this isn't just about Trent. He was enabled. Somewhere between here and the corporate structure, people stopped asking questions. Yale met her gaze. Then we clean house, wherever it leads. She nodded once and left. At closing time, the team gathered again, this time by choice. No one rushed to the door. No one checked the clock. Yale stood beside them. Starting next week, we're piloting a new staffing model here. Smaller shifts, better pay scaling, and a focus on mental health. You'll each have access to paid wellness time, no questions asked. No forms, just time off when you need it. Raymond raised an eyebrow. This is permanent. If it works here, it becomes the standard, Yale said. I won't ask you to trust that right away. I'll earn it. Gabby crossed her arms. What happens if corporate pushes back? They won't, Yale said, because I'm rewriting the policies myself. Malik leaned against the wall. Then let's see if you can keep up. Yale nodded. I'll be here tomorrow and the day after, as long as it takes. The group finally began to scatter. Some lingered to talk. Others packed up in silence. But no one wore the drained, defeated look he'd seen just a day ago. Yale walked through the store one last time, checking the back room, flipping off lights, securing the safe. When he stepped outside, the sky had darkened completely, but the air felt different. Lighter. He looked back at the building. It wasn't fixed, but it was beginning to heal. And this time, it wouldn't take a collapse to keep it that way.